Hey, couples, let's talk about love.
We're not experts. We're just sharing our journey of love.
Hey, babe,
What's going on, girl?
what's going on? Ready for the work week?
I don't know if I'm ever ready for the work week, but I'm gonna say yes, just because I got no choice really. I gotta work.
We do. So let's get into this topic today.
Today's topic is a relationship like a business.
So, I was not feeling this topic. We just did a kind of a Zoom podcast with
Mhm.
a couple and an organization that Jay knows, and that was called.
Mom cares in Baltimore.
And they thought about us. They said we were a great couple and thought we would be great on this session. And when I got the questions, I was like, I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling the questions really. I don't know how to answer them. And I didn't even consider that a relationship was like a
And
business.
that's what it sounded like you weren't feeling like. Not that just the topic itself was the part that you
Yeah,
you just weren't correlating the two because you felt. I remember what you said. Like you felt business was just not relationship. Like the intimacy and all the connection. All the pieces
exactly.
weren't connected. Yeah,
Empowerment, things like
so
that.
it made sense. But then when you think about it, like you know, the concept of even when people call people like power couples and they work well together, and we just work well together, like all that's a part of you know the business world. So like there's a lot of similarities, but it isn't apples to apples. It's definitely like apples to oranges. You can
Right.
just go bite into an apple right away, or orange you got to peel. So there's some differences, and I think what we agreed upon was the number one difference, for sure, that we couldn't find any correlation towards was the fact that in a marriage, or a relationship, however you want to call it, there's no CEO.
Exactly. And the number one thing that we thought was extremely important in a relationship and a business was communication
Communication,
across all lines of everything we do,
for
not just in
sure.
relationships and business and everything we do in life.
I agree.
So he kind of brought me over to the other side. And, I'm like, okay, I think I might be 95% with this relationship. Is it a business? So I think what really got me was that when we talked about the power, and
Yeah, that really
how
got you. That really bothered
it
you.
did not really bothered me. I just didn't see that fitting into
Hmm.
a marriage. Like no one person should have power over anyone or anything, especially in a marriage. This is a group. This is a what? We're together as one. We work at this together. No one should be over another.
And it's interesting. When I took the word power in one of the questions, I turned it into take the lead. And the take the lead part was what I took from it. But then when you explained your stance on the power portion, that's what made me say, you know what? I agree with that. And that. So then I didn't just say we can replace the word. So then I think it became a whole nother concept.
Yes,
The lead,
exactly.
taking the lead became a separate concept from the power because I agreed then that there is no power. I kind of softened the blow, which, in society we do often. We do that on our own, but that was the wrong way to go, I think,
Hmm.
because it's true. I don't feel we either of us have power when it comes to the relationship because
Because
then that
they're
would mean somebody is beneath.
exactly,
And
and that's where I was like, power. Like there are no CEOs in marriages,
yeah,
right?
exactly. It's just now we are, we could be a co-chair. We can work together.
Well, no, we
We are,
should be
yeah, we're
working
co-chair.
together. Exactly.
We're equal partners.
Yes.
Another concept that wouldn't be there. We're not silent partners. We need to be,
Exactly.
vocal on both sides because if you are silent, then you're going against the other most important thing that we said, which was communication.
Communication. You have to
So
keep that line of communication open, both in a business and a relationship. So,
mhm.
so when we talked about that, changing that power word to, you know, at some point, one of us will have to take the lead, and that's when that other person in the relationship or the husband or the spouse, marriage, can't take the lead. They're at a vulnerable spot right now. And somebody has to step up and say, I got this, right? So I felt a little better about that because now it's shown that we're equal partners. So now that makes sense,
Very much so.
you
You know, and
know?
then you think about the other pieces. You know, you have to plan. And remember that this all stemmed from, you know, the organization that asked us to be on it. The representative had, you know, he watched a video, and there was a video of this black couple that they, you know, got together and
Outside of the house.
outside of the house, and they went and they put together their plan for the year. And it was funny because we laughed because we had seen that same video separately
did.
and thought that that was such a great idea and something that we do. We just hadn't incorporated outside of the house,
Exactly.
but we do sit down and put together our plan for what we want to do. And you think about it, you know, you plan for travel,
Yep.
you plan for work. You know, you talk about what's going on this year because things change.
Some people plan to have babies. And
We talk about what we're going to do socially. You know, you're talking about what you're going to do with your sorority. You like all the different things. So we got to connect all of those pieces because they make a difference, and that's part of that discussion. You know, and saying like, okay, what are we going to do? We talk about our jobs. You know, what we want to do, like how, you know, what you need to do and the milestones within your career. You know, because that also makes a difference. We talk about retirement. Hey, yes, babe. You know, we talk about, you know, all these different things, and you know, like what we want to do with the house, what we want to do outside the house. You know,
And that's how you do in business. You're planning what we're going to do with the business to move it forward. What are our 5 year, 10 years, 20-year goals to make the business viable,
which
right?
goes back into that communication. You think about like what hurts a marriage, you know, and I really feel it's the number one thing is communication. I know people talk about money and all that stuff, but it's still money is connected to communication.
Because you got to communicate that you're having money problems,
or that you're spending too much,
exactly.
You know, or what you're spending on. You like so all of that is still back to that communication. And if we just do like, I mean, we've seen movies where people like taking jobs and then they tell a spouse afterwards, and I'm like, that's the craziest thing to me. Like, I never take a job without talking to you first, you know, like or you know, talk about like, hey, this opportunity is coming up, or somebody asked me to apply for this. What do you think? Like, I'm gonna come home and talk to you about it because that's life changing. You know, like
And
either way,
and that's how the business is. We don't go and take
a partnership or a deal
without talking to my partner.
Exactly. I can't just say, oh yeah,
We'll do
I
that.
signed this deal with this company. You know, we'll be good. Like, what? You know, like we didn't even talk about this. How are you going to just sign on our behalf? You know, and that's what you're doing. Like, and I think when you think about in terms of, if you think about it in terms of a business, that this is your partner, and I believe in love and relationship. We say that word, but do we truly know what the meaning of partner is? You know, and what that truly means? Because like when we say partner, so if I'm your partner, then we're equally sharing in these pieces.
But let's go back a little bit. Let's go back. So the partnership began on the relationship side. We signed a legally binding marriage certificate stating that we're going to be married. We're going to go through this from beginning to end till death do us part. We're going to love, respect, as in when you're signing a partnership in business, you're saying we're going to work as partners. We're going to make this business work. We're going to move forward. We're going to collaborate. We're going to communicate. So now so that's how I kind of correlated that. That worked perfectly. Like we both signed a legal binding contract because if we decide we're not going to do this marriage anymore, we have to do what? We have to dissolve the marriage, right?
That's right.
Same with the business. If we're not going to continue to be business partners, we're going to what? Dissolve the business.
You think about it. You go to court with both of them.
Exactly.
In front of a judge, signing everything. I mean, so this is a legal agreement. And you know, I think about when you said, you know, when does the partnership begin? When does the contract begin? And you know, I look at it and you know, no, it's not on date one.
Maybe like I want to have 50 kids. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, check please.
And then
but you know,
call me back. Why?
But he's like, why did I get ghosted? But you know, you think about it, like at some point when you start getting serious, at that point, and I would say right in the beginning, because what you don't want to do is get your feelings all in, and then you realize you both have different views
Yeah.
on how you're going to move forward in life. Similar to a business. Do you get in the business with somebody that doesn't believe the same thing you do?
Doesn't have the same work acumen as you do.
Exactly. So you want to start putting that together and start talking about that early on, like, hey, and even if it comes in increments, it
Yeah.
doesn't always have to come like, okay, we're sitting at dinner and then let me break out my list and we're going to start going down and we're going to start checking this off right now.
Check
No,
this
like,
now, right?
I mean, this is also the part of the courting, the relationship, the building. I think about it in my organization, one of the things that I like to say to people is, before we call you a partner, we want to first collaborate. And
Right.
to me, collaboration is like dating. When we're first dating, we're getting to know each other. So as
Yeah.
we're collaborating, we're working on some things together. Once we see that, hey, working with you or working with this other organization is a good thing. We got the same, wavelength. Now let's start talking about a partnership because now we're getting entrenched with each other and we're working on stuff. And I think that's the same thing when it comes to as you're dating. Your dating should not just be,
Let's jump right
rainbows
in
and
here. Yeah.
unicorns. Like it should also be like, hey, we should start bringing up some of these topics and understanding, what's going on. Like,
And know what we want.
yeah, like relationship, family, financial, living. Some people, hey, you may say, you know what, I want a house with a yard. Person like, ooh, no, I want to live in an apartment where I ain't got to cut nothing to do. Like, and there are people that say that, like, I want to pay rent. I don't want to own anything.
Exactly.
There's some people that are scared of owning.
That.
So like, it's a difference. I've always wanted to, live in a house and cut my lawn and do those things.
Same
And we
here.
talk about, you want to cut the lawn too? You
No,
never told me that.
absolutely not.
Girl,
So,
I got you.
anyway, we digress.
Y'all heard that.
No,
It's
we
all
did not.
recorded.
I said I wanted to live in a house as well. That has always been my dream. That big house with the white picket fence. I mean, not literally, but yeah.
Yeah,
So we did have that conversation, and I
Yeah.
know that I had goals because one, I was a little older than Jay, and
we also talk
we
about
didn't.
kids.
We needed to talk about that little age gap and make sure that we were on the same page.
We
I
talked
think
about,
was
that we
important.
weren't looking at having kids this time because
Exactly.
we both
And I
had
was
children, and
Yep.
they were like, well, look, we're good on that.
I know I was like, mine is what, 20? How old was she? 20
She
something
was
years old?
21, but 20, she was turning 21.
And I was like,
Yeah.
no, this is not going to happen. So, but it was only fair if we're going to go into this marriage, this partnership, that I need to be upfront to give him the option to say, whoa,
Maybe this is not what I
maybe
want
this
to
is
do.
what I want
Because
to
you
do.
can't go into it thinking you're going to change the person.
Because that's a bad thing.
And I think that's part of the issue is that either we don't communicate and we just assume, and then when things go awry, and it happens in business. Then it's like, well, did you all talk about it? Did you put that down on paper? When people talk about MOUs and the importance of an MOU, that memo of understanding, like it makes a difference because you know what are we agreeing upon? And again, I think about with the organization, like we start to talk about how this relationship, this interaction, this partnership, whatever, is going to benefit us both. How is it mutually beneficial? And we have to do the same thing when it comes to our relationship. How is this relationship mutually beneficial? How am I helping you grow? How are you helping me grow?
But also keep in mind, so now here's a little differ from the change in a relationship and changing of a person in a relationship and changing of a person in a business. You have no choice to change in a business if you want the business to succeed. When you're trying to change someone in a relationship, that's not always a good thing. So we should never go into it that way.
That's true.
So,
And which could also dissolve the business or dissolve the relationship, like you're saying. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody is staunch on believing this, that's what they believe. And it's kind of like you think about it. We talk about understanding the companies that we're getting involved with and what their belief system is. Because you know what, if you don't believe what we believe in, they're not going to involve with you. I run a nonprofit. I'm not taking money from a racist organization because it's a black run nonprofit in a black community, for black people. So I'm not taking that money, and I got to accept that, because that's that part of that same concept of like I'm not going to do something that's against my belief, and you can't get in a relation with somebody that has a different belief system with you because, and that that's so deep because it's going to affect you.
Mm. So would you think that this is a good one? So would you think if you were a Democrat and I was a Republican, could we not live in
I
and
think
coexist?
that's not life changing in the same way.
Okay.
I believe that, yes. I mean, that's like, you like this team and I like that team. I think at the end of the day, that's a side that you take, but it doesn't mean
Define the relationship.
yeah. I
of a
mean,
marriage.
because hey, I mean, there's different reasons why you could be that. Maybe if you loved the color orange, we'd have a harder time being in a relationship. But outside of that, I think it's fine. That's just a whole nother
Yeah.
level. That's not even Republican or Democrat. That's orange.
Got you. Okay, we're gonna leave that one alone. But so I came around. I'm like, yes, I can see this. I can see how it can be wrapped around a relationship, the business aspect, because like I said, it started up with a partnership. We want to come into this partnership together. We want to be committed to the partnership, committed to the marriage. We want to go till death do us part. We want to see this business to the end. So that's where it correlated, right?
And sometimes you reinvent yourself within the business, together, where and you do the same thing in your relationship. Like you become a better person or a different person, because of this other person. Like we're not the same people we were, 13 years ago. We're not the same people we were 10 years ago. We have evolved, in our relationship and in business. You also evolve and grow in order to keep up with your competition or to keep up with the times. I think that's also the other difference. Just thinking about that. Um, in business, there's competition. In a relationship, there's not.
Well, there could be competition in relationships.
Please,
Outside influences.
that's not competition. Competition.
Why
meaning,
wouldn't it be?
No, that's outside influence in business too. So there's things outside factors that could come in and affect your business. I'm talking about competition. You think about soft drinks. There's different soft drinks that are out there that compete with each other that are not the same company. There's no other marriage that's going to compete with our marriage because I don't care what other marriages do. At that point, like for what they do, I care about what we do in our relationship. So I think and that goes up there with the CEO for me, where there's no, I don't feel competition and outside influence are two different topics.
But what if you have someone that's trying to come into your relationship?
That's the outside influence. It's not competition. Are you competing with that? No, we're not competing. Remember, our marriage competing with one person? Can't be, because that's two in one. Like, it just doesn't work. But there's no other marriage that we are competing with because there's no end goal. And there's no end goal for both of us. At the end of the day, with companies, there's an end goal to be number one, right? We're not trying to be the number one marriage. We can't be because the number one against a number one against what? Against like what is the number one up for? No, all we're trying to be is great for each other. So again, another piece that does separate business and relationship. First CEO. I think another piece is, like I said, competition, because it just doesn't exist. Now, outside influence, wholeheartedly. I mean, but that's in life and business. There's outside influences as you drive into work. Like the other cars, you got to be a defensive driver. So all of those things. But like when I'm driving to work, I'm not competing with anybody except for myself on the GPS, trying to beat that number to get there. It says I'm gonna get there 8:05. I'm gonna get there 8:04.
Okay.
When I win that 8:04, and if it's 8:03, I'm like, yes.
Okay, I don't have those kind.
You don't drive.
We won't talk about that either. I do drive. So all in all, when we kind of sat through and talked about it, kind of like compared our marriage to what we had. We did have a business. So we had a business that I had ran from 2002 until 2017. And I kind of looked at that business, and I think Jay came on in 2011 or 12. You came on to the business.
Yeah.
And so I kind of looked at that because we had it twofold. We were in a relationship and marriage together, and we were in a real business together. So kind of looking at that, comparing the two, you know, taking away from the power aspect of it and the what was that one? You said outside influences. I think we really think that a relationship is like a business.
Mhm.
It really is.
And I think if you treat it that way, you may be able to strengthen your relationship.
And what we put into it is what we get out of
You
it.
got a point, and it's work.
It is
I mean,
work.
like you tell, I had a colleague that retired and said he had been married. They were married for like 50 years.
Wow. Goals.
50 years. And he said, we still work at our marriage.
I think you're gonna always continue to work at the marriage.
And at first I would think like, man, y'all been married, y'all know each other. He was like, yeah, but you know what? I still get her angry, and I still do stuff that gets at her, and she does stuff that gets at me, and then she still asks me questions, and I'm like, why you ask me that? You're like, but you know what? Because we're humans, and this is life, and things happen in different days, and you have different feelings. So, but he says it's constant work, but we enjoy it, and we do it together because it's all about how do we get another 50 years.
Right. And that goes with business. We got to keep working at the business. We got to make it better. We got to compete with those that are out there. We got to make sure that we're not becoming antiquated and fall behind. So we got to pour into it, just like we pour into our marriage. And so I think we've done that. I mean,
new techniques to learn about marriage. I mean,
absolutely.
We're learning things as we're going through this process with you all. As we pick up on different topics and talk to each other and talk about it and come up with topics for the podcast. It's all about how we're learning and would these topics have been the same 10 years ago?
No,
and that's the thing. So it's like it's part, and that's why we talk about again how we're not experts, but we're bringing you on this love journey with us. Like
we're ever evolving.
Yeah, it's a journey, and you know what? Sometimes on a journey, even if you got a plan, you still don't know what's going to happen because of the outside influence, because of things that come up, and you got to adjust and work through them, So I think that's important. One of the things I started thinking about as we're talking even more is, in business, we put together strategic plans, and we talk about a 5-year strategic plan. They stick with 5 years. So I was like, we should do that in our relationship, put together a 5-year strategic plan for our marriage.
And I think we've started that. Our first step was we actually sat down, looked at our calendar, and chose once a month that we're going to take a weekend just for us. That was planning. I mean, just like when we go into business, say we're going to plan for this conference. We're going to go. This is what we're going to accomplish. We're doing that in the marriage.
That wasn't hard. That wasn't easy. I mean,
it was not.
It was not an easy thing because you're both busy and trying to find an equal date on your calendar to do that is intense. And
I know it was hard for you.
It was hard for you too because you were like, "Nope, I can't do that. Nope, I can't do that." What about this one? Does that work for you? And I'm like, "Yep, that can work." Oh wait, we got this. And then you start to decide, and then you have to be serious about it, and you come up with parameters. So we started to come up with parameters that are ever evolving. Like we asked, like there was a family party that was coming up on our weekend. And it was like, wait, can we do that? And it was like, well, yeah, because we're choosing to go to that family party. What we don't want to do is go to an event connected to work. Even if it's a social event, it's still a work event. So like that's something that we may say, we're going to nix. Do we take that conference call? Do we take that, whatever? Like, are we going to, I need to stop off in the office and do this quick thing? Again, that's going against that. Or, taking on another task that time. So it's like shutting it down and just doing what you all want to do and what you agree upon. And I think that's the key. Like we want to agree that this is what we are okay with doing together.
But it's again, it's all about planning.
Yeah.
So we had to plan this out, which I think this is just my opinion. We shouldn't be planning out our life and marriage. We should move forward.
Like shouldn't or should?
We should not. I mean, we should just take it by the horn and say, no, you know what? This weekend I'm going to do it. But unfortunately, we don't have that option. We got to plan.
We ain't that rich.
We not. That's what I'm saying.
That kind of money. I want that kind of money.
If we had that kind of money, like I'm taking off this weekend, I don't care what's happening.
Bora Bora.
Whatever. Yes, exactly. But I agree. So when we're planning in the marriage, we're planning in the business, they all work hand in hand.
I agree.
And so we do the planning.
Mhm.
We continue to communicate with each other.
What I thought you were going to say when you said we started the strategic plan, I thought you were going to reference the retirement piece.
Oh, we did.
Because
So
we
yes.
started talking about that. And I remember you started talking about it. And when my retirement guy came to the job and started talking to me, and I said, well, my wife said she wants to retire at this age, which means I will be this age. So I need to be, somewhere in this range. And what do I need to do? So he started showing me the formulas on what it would take, to do that. And I think also the next thing that we want to incorporate into that is thinking about now, investments.
Yes.
Beyond just our retirement investments,
Mhm.
so that we can have some residual income while we're venturing off in this life of retirement. And again, we're looking at about a 10-year range.
Yep,
something in that
about
range.
10 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think you were like 7. I think I was
7 to
10.
10 years.
7 to 10-year range to be, in that range, which is, seems like a light years away, but then that joint comes quick because
It does.
we've been married for 10, together for 13, and it seems forever. It was interesting to me. I was thinking we went to a family party and man, it was one of your family parties. And I was like, I know so many people. Like I'm connected and so deep. And I'm like, yeah, well, it makes sense. I mean, we've been together 13 years. That's a long time to be somebody, and they see you all the time when you're together and you're happy. So you are family. And so I very much feel that way. So I think that we know that this 10 years won't take that long before it's upon us. So we have to start talking about that now, and that's part of that strategic plan.
Exactly. So when we came together with this with the organization to do the podcast Zoom thing, we came out of it with the same feelings that this relationship is like a business. Not 100%, but nearly 100%. And we agree that the main thing that we need to make sure that we keep in this business partnership, relationship, marriage is to communicate with each other. It's so important that we do that. And so when we talk about moving forward in our marriage, we are going to treat some aspects like a business. We're going to go out there and plan. We're going to make that strategic plan done, work for us. And so I will keep that on my.
Which I think is important. And hopefully you all do something similar or work in that way, and just look at it from that perspective. And you know what? If you have children, incorporate your children
Absolutely
in the mix. And let them understand. One of our couple friends talked about having a weekly family meeting. It came up. So I think that's important that we are able to, come together and discuss. This is what our plans are, even for the week, for the month, for the year, for the next 5 years.
Exactly. So we have a question. Well, we're going to give them a question, or we're going to just.
No, we're going to give them a question for next week. Question is your love account overdrawn?
Ooh, take that in. So, we want to say thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Please subscribe. And if you like our podcast, give us a like on Facebook, shout out on Instagram, and join us next week as we discuss our love account was seriously in the red. Until next week, don't forget to tell your spouse I love you.
I love you.
And you're my rock.
You're my peace.
All right, people. It was good talking to you. Bye.
Peace.